Today's video is all about one of my favourite topics to talk about, which is bookshops. If this is the first time that you've clicked on one of my videos, I will just preface my whole channel by saying I love books. And as the cosy season of autumn rolls around here in England, there is no better way to spend a cold, crisp or rainy autumn day than perusing some bookshops. I am so grateful that Cornwall, which is the place that I live, has an array of amazing bookshops, particularly quirky, independent, secondhand or vintage bookshops. And today I wanted to share my favourites with you. So whether you have booked a holiday to Cornwall in the autumn and you're trying to find alternative things to do than going to the beach, or if you're just interested in seeing and hearing about the bookshops that I feature in my videos quite often or talk about or buy my books from, then I hope that this video will be interesting. And if neither of those things, then I hope that this video serves as a cosy dose of autumnal bookishness. That's a really weird sentence. So here is my guide to the best places to go book shopping in Cornwall. First one I want to talk about is Beowulf Books in Falmouth. And Falmouth in particular is a great place to go book shopping if you're looking for a book shopping day, because there are several. Beowulf Books is particularly interesting because it's actually a pub with a bookshop inside. As you walk up to the bookshop, you'll see a sign that says something like beer and books. And the idea is that you could go get yourself a pint and also read a book. So as you walk up the stairs into the pub, there is this little sectioned off area which is full of books, floor to ceiling. And these are predominantly new books. However, they do also sell secondhand books mixed in. So it's a combination of new books that are usually discounted. So a lot of the books you can get for £4 or £5 that would normally be £8 or £9 in another bookshop, but they are brand new. And then occasionally there'll be a few books dotted in that are also secondhand. I just love the concept that you can go in and have a meal, have lunch, have a drink, and also peruse some bookshelves and get a really good priced book in the process. As I said, Falmouth is a great place to go book shopping, and the other bookshop that I always love popping into when I visit Falmouth is a secondhand bookshop that I cannot remember the name of, but I'll insert some clips on the screen, and if I can find the name of it, I will put it on the screen as well. They don't really market themselves in the sense of there's no signage, there's no clear indication that this is a bookshop. You sort of have to just walk up to it and discover it. And I think that's so special and adds to the charm a lot. And it really feels like somebody's basement or somebody's attic full of books. It kind of has that slightly dusty old smell, but in the best possible way. And they always have such a good mixture of books. This is a secondhand bookshop, all of the books are secondhand, and they also have a few vintage editions of books in there as well. I found this really cool fairy tale book once, and they also have just loads of old editions of books. It's quite a small little bookshop, but I feel like you can spend a long time flipping through all of the crates and cardboard boxes full of books, and it's such a cozy space to spend a good 15-20 minutes just browsing around the books. The next bookshop is Shrewsbury Books in Foy. Although this is the only bookshop in Foy, I also would recommend Foy as a place to go and visit in the autumn because it has that kind of, I don't know, it has a very cozy feel. There's lots of quaint little shops that you can duck in and out of, and coffee shops and cafes, and it's just a very cozy and quaint place. And it's also the place that Daphne du Maurier lived, so there's a bit of bookish history there as well. Shrewsbury Books sells predominantly new books, but they also sell vintage books. They have a little section at the back of the shop. It's a really tiny little shop, but it's packed full of books. And they have a section at the back that is dedicated to vintage books. They pretty much always have some vintage copies of Daphne du Maurier books. To be honest, pretty much any secondhand bookshop you visit or even new bookshop you visit in Cornwall will have copies of Daphne du Maurier's books. Despite how small this bookshop is, they always have such a good selection of books, and I love browsing around this bookshop, usually on a rainy day, and wandering around with a coffee in hand. Another secondhand bookshop that I would recommend is Hurley Books in Mevagissey. This is a secondhand bookshop primarily, but they do also sell a few new books as well. There's a little new section, but the majority of it is secondhand books. This shop is tucked away a little bit off the harbour in Mevagissey, and it kind of looks from the outside like it might be a visitor centre or an information centre, but it is actually a bookshop. What I love going to this bookshop for is classics, because they always have so many classics on their bookshelves, and if I'm looking for a particular classic, I will pretty much always find a copy of that book in this bookshop. So I would really recommend this one if you're looking for secondhand books, particularly classics, and they do sell a few vintage editions of books as well. They also sell records, but I've never really browsed this section, but in the centre of the bookshop they sell old records as well, so it's kind of a music and bookshop at the same time. A bookshop that I have visited quite a few times and has a very special place in my heart is the St. Ives Bookseller, and the reason this bookshop is so special is because my best friend lives in St. Ives, and whenever I go to visit her, we always end up going around the St. Ives Bookseller. This bookshop always has really nice special editions of books. They'll always have the new releases of books, so it's a great place to go to if you're looking for a newly released book or current books, or perhaps a book that you want to get as a gift, because they usually have all of the kind of special editions of books and the newest editions of books as well. If you are looking for a bookshop where you can go and do something else as well as go book shopping, then I would recommend the bookshop at Atrolysic Gardens. You have to pay to go around the gardens. However, as you go in, there is a little section and they have a secondhand bookshop as well as a coffee shop and a little courtyard area and a beautiful walk you can go on as well. So this is a secondhand bookshop. The books are really cheap here, like £1 or £2. You can get really cheap books, and it's a surprisingly big bookshop as well. They have, I think, 3 rooms full of books, and I was really surprised when I walked in here for the first time just how stacked full of books this bookshop is. Again, it's really cozy and warm when you're in there, and because there's a coffee shop right opposite, you can walk around with a comforting warm drink as well. The outside of the bookshop looks like an old cottage, and just the whole feel of it is so enchanting and cozy. I love the idea of going there on a crisp fall day, picking up a book, getting a coffee and going for a little walk, maybe taking a blanket with some cozy throws you can put around yourself and curling up to read your book outside. I think there is something so magical about that, and you can do that all in one place together. And in the same theme of places you can go where there's more to do than just book shopping, I would also recommend LostwithYou. LostwithYou is a small village and it is packed to the brim with vintage shops. There are so many vintage retro shops there, and even though there isn't a specific bookshop, most of the vintage shops have some books in them, and you can find little hidden shelves with books inside, and they are all vintage books. This is perfect if you enjoy book shopping but you also want to just generally go vintage shopping or secondhand shopping, because you can find so many little trinkets and gifts and quirky items as well here. There's also quite a few independent shops and a beautiful garden centre and also a coffee shop. So you can make a little bit of a morning or an afternoon of visiting this place whilst also browsing some vintage books. The final bookshop I want to recommend, I actually don't have any video clips of, but that is the Edge of the World bookshop. They sell new books, but kind of like the St. Ives bookshop, They have such a good selection of books, and because the setting is at the edge of the world, in the sense of you are right near the sea, right near the coast, it's a really beautiful place to go and buy a book and then go and sit on a bench and read it near the sea, which is what I did here with this clip. I bought a copy of Frankenstein and was able to sit by the sea as I opened the first pages. And that is what all of these bookshops, I think, share, is that each of them, they may be a small bookshop, they may not have the biggest stock of books, but the setting that you can go and pick up that book and read in is just so beautiful for each and every one of these bookshops. So those are my favourite bookshops here in Cornwall. There are so many more that I could talk about, but those are my favourites and the ones that I would absolutely recommend checking out if you are visiting Cornwall. And if you're not visiting Cornwall and you're watching this just because you're interested in bookshop content, these are the bookshops that I often visit or feature or showcase in my videos and will buy books from as well. If you are visiting Cornwall, or if you live in Cornwall and decide to visit one of these bookshops, please let me know in the comments. And I would also love to know, what is your favourite bookshop in the place that you live? What is the most interesting and unique bookshop that you just love visiting? And I love the idea that we can all recommend those bookshops to each other so that we can find the hidden gems wherever we go in the world. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you are in this world, and I will see you very soon with another video.